A very good evening. This is Primetime News on TV1. Bringing you the news this evening. I'm Stephen Machado.
And I'm Shalini Ratnavira. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Joint program by the United Nations to uplift the people of Sri Lanka. Over 10 billion rupees received in international aid. Sri Lanka can be rebuilt under President Anura's leadership, ready to provide the necessary support. A statement by the US Under-Secretary of State for Political Affairs. Relief loan scheme to uplift micro, small and medium-scale enterprises affected by the disaster. Citizens toil day and night to rebuild Sri Lanka. Opposition leader foretells a crisis in 2028. Sirasa Sahana Yatra delivers aid to Badulla within a few hours after it was airlifted to Mattala on board an American aircraft.
On to your top story for tonight. The United Nations and humanitarian partners have launched a humanitarian priorities plan, urgently calling for $35.3 million to deliver life-saving assistance to communities devastated by Cyclone Reservoir. The plan aims to reach 658,000 of the most vulnerable people between December 2025 and April 2026. Following a formal request for international assistance from the government of Sri Lanka.
The United Nations Emergency Response Fund, the Central Emergency Response Fund, which is our global fund to respond to disasters, has approved an emergency allocation of $4.5 million to support emergency needs here in Sri Lanka. Many thousands of people remain displaced, living in emergency centers. Many people have not been able to return to their houses. Many people require food and health and sanitation services. What is most important now is to respond to these emergency and humanitarian needs of so many Sri Lankans across the country. That is the priority. And so the United Nations has activated the humanitarian country team, which, together with the UN agencies and its local partners, are working across 7 sectors: health, education, water, early recovery, shelter, etc. So we're working organized around 7 sectors to support the authorities and respond to this emergency. Very importantly, we are doing so as a result of a specific request by the government of Sri Lanka. The government of Sri Lanka has formally requested the United Nations and international organizations to support multi-sectoral international assistance in areas such as food security, livelihoods, agriculture, nutrition, education, water, sanitation, shelter, and early recovery. So we're responding to a request from the government. As part of this response, we have now put together a humanitarian priorities plan that we are launching today. This humanitarian priorities plan responds directly to a needs assessment that we have carried out together with the DMC. That was published last week, and we're going to do a second phase of that assessment, understanding in detail the emergency needs of the population. And we have put together this priorities plans, which seeks to mobilize $35 million over the next 4 months. So $35 million over the next 4 months in these 7 priority sectors.
What funds that is coming for the UN? Is there any sort of mechanism that is in place to ensure that this will reach the individuals that actually need it the most?
There's a quite thorough methodology to make sure that we're targeting the right people and the people that are in need. But very importantly, we're talking here about life-saving emergency support. Yes, this is not about repairing the well, or yes, this is about people having clean water for the next few weeks and months while the well is repaired. This is about reestablishing emergency education, yes? While the school, we think that about 1,000 schools have been hit. So this will take time to repair those schools. What do we do with those kids in the meantime? This is the kind of emergency support that we are here to give. So this support is for 4 months, 3-4 months. This is really in the short term to make sure that people stay alive, stay healthy, and are able to recover in the medium to long term. And this is very, very important because we know by experience that if we delay this kind of humanitarian support, people will be more vulnerable to diseases. Kids' education will be delayed. And so catching up afterwards will be even more expensive and will be more difficult for the authorities. So that's why for us it's so important to be acting today and to be responding today.
This 35 million, is this in grant funds or is it more debt that the country can't afford to pay?
So first of all, the funding that we are requesting, which is $35 million, we don't have it yet. We hope to mobilize it. The more or less, let's say, 10 million that we have and that we have received until now, including from the United Nations, this is grant funding. And all of the 35 that we are requesting is grant funding. So this is in no way going to add to the burden, the debt burden in the country.
From papers that have been taken now, will there be anything taken in the future to make sure that we prevent such an impact being caused by stuff like this?
Well, this is an excellent question, and this is the kind of conversation that we are engaged now with the government. We have been engaged with the government for many decades on ways for the government, for the authorities, to make investments more climate resilient, more disaster resilient. So obviously there's a lot more to be done. Obviously this costs a lot of money. Obviously it's not easy to do when you are defaulting on your debt. Obviously this is not easy to do when you are suffering an economic crisis. So this is why it's so important that we recover fast and that we continue investing in these very important infrastructure and livelihoods that are climate and disaster resilient. Yeah?
U.S. Under-Secretary of State for Political Affairs Alison Hooker arrived in Sri Lanka today and met with the President.
Colombo witnessed a pivotal diplomatic engagement as U.S. Under-Secretary of State for Political Affairs Alison Hooker met with President Anurukumara Dissanayake to reinforce the strategic partnership between the two nations. The discussions centered on deepening maritime cooperation, including last week's transfer of a U.S. vessel to Sri Lanka, a move aimed at strengthening maritime security while fully respecting Sri Lanka's sovereignty. The meeting also focused on advancing economic priorities, with an emphasis on trade, investment and near-term stability as Sri Lanka undertakes the challenging task of rebuilding after the devastation caused by Cyclone Ditwa. In a gesture of solidarity, U.S. Under-Secretary of State for Political Affairs Alison Hooker and U.S. Ambassador Julie Chung conveyed heartfelt condolences for the lives lost in the disaster. U.S. Under-Secretary of State for Political Affairs Alison Hooker's agenda is packed with high-level meetings with Sri Lankan government officials and key stakeholders. In a symbolic gesture of solidarity, U.S. Ambassador Julie Chung alongside Hooker visited Katunayake Air Base to personally thank U.S. airmen for their critical role in delivering life-saving relief supplies to cyclone-hit communities. The airlift operation, made possible through years of joint training with Sri Lanka's tri-services, exemplifies the strength of this partnership in times of crisis.
The Deputy Registrars of Malwatu and Asgiria chapters, along with Devadan and Nilame, Pradeep Nilangathala, met President Anurukumara Dissanayake today. The Temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic also contributed 50 million rupees to the Rebuilding Sri Lanka Fund.
The Deputy Registrars of the Malwatu chapter of the Siyamapali Mahanikaya, Venerable Mahavila Rathanapala Thera, Deputy Registrar of the Askiriya chapter of the Siyamapali Mahanikaya, Venerable Dr. Muruddeniya Dharmaratna Thera and Diyawadna Nilame of the historic Kandy Sri Dalada Maligawa Nilangadala met with the President at the President's office. They commended the government led by the President for its initiative to rebuild the lives of the people and to restore the country following the recent disaster, expressing their blessings for these efforts. The discussions focused on relief and resettlement activities for communities affected in the Kandy district.
The Cabinet spokesperson today clarified on how the government will manage the disaster relief funds.
අපි ඉදිරිපත් කළ තිබෙනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකා මහ බැංකුවේ අනුමැතිය සහිතව මුදල් අමාත්‍යාංශය විසින්
We have announced 6 accounts with the approval of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka through the Ministry of Finance. Money credited to these 6 accounts will then be transferred to the Consolidated Fund. There is an account at the Bank of Ceylon. Funds can be provided in any currency to this account. And these 7 accounts, including 6 additional accounts for each currency, have been announced. Regarding foreign aid, we manage it through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Before receiving any aid, we consulted all our diplomats to determine what immediate relief is needed for this disaster and what are our medium and long-term expectations. Those discussions are ongoing and accordingly this relief has been received. All of these matters are being managed with maximum transparency. As we recall, during the 2004 tsunami, there were serious issues in the country regarding the aid that was received. Over the past 20 years, this led to some people preferring to direct funds to media institutions, voluntary organizations or individuals instead of the government accounts. This time, however, the situation is different. People have confidence in the accounts announced by the government, which is why they are being funded. At institutional, individual and national levels, both within and outside the country, people are investing their money with the trust in the government. We have ensured maximum transparency throughout this process.
පිළිබඳ විශ්වාසයෙන් ඒ මුදල් යොදවනවා ඒක උපරිම විනිවිදභාවය අපි ඉදිරිපත් කළා තියෙනවා.
Meanwhile, the Cabinet has made several decisions to provide relief to affected people. This includes a concessional loan scheme for the development of micro, small and medium-scale enterprises. A new concessional loan scheme has been created by merging 3 existing concessional loan schemes that have been operating in these sectors for many years.
2020 වර්ෂයේ සිට ReMSME Plus
In order to implement the ReMSME Plus in 2026 and to revive the disaster-affected micro, small and medium enterprises sector, a new loan scheme called the Disaster Relief Loan Scheme has been planned. Under the proposed scheme, 250,000 rupees will be provided to micro-enterprises. For small and medium enterprises, funds will be made available for a period of 3 years at an interest rate of 3% per annum, with a maximum grace period of 6 months, subject to a maximum of 1 million rupees. Accordingly, the Cabinet approved the proposal submitted by the President as Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to implement the ReMSME Plus loan scheme and the ReMSME Disaster Relief Loan Scheme.
අමුතුම හැටියට ජනපතිතුමා ඉදිරිපත් කළ යෝජනා කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලය අනුමත කළා.
ගෙදර තිබුණු විදුලි උපකරණ දරුවන්ගේ කබඩ් පොත්‍රාක් ඇඳන් ඒ වගේ ගන්න 50000කින් බෑ කියන ඉල්ලීමක් තියෙන හැමතිතුම.
ඒකට රුපියල් 75000ක් ලබා දෙනවා.
We will provide 75,000 rupees and have made the necessary arrangements to help people start their lives with this amount. In addition, if their farming or paddy cultivation has been damaged, we will provide 200,000 rupees per hectare. For those whose industries have been affected, we will also provide 200,000 rupees. Concessional loans will be made available with a moratorium on the repayment period. For those with animal farms, 200,000 rupees will be provided, subject to the relevant conditions. Additionally, to support livelihoods, people who have lost their main source of income but still have other assets will receive 50,000 rupees per month for 3 months for December, January and February.
රුපියල් 50000 ගානේ තව මාස 3ක් දක්වා දෙසැම්බර් ජනවාරි පෙබරවාරික ලබා දෙනවා.
Cabinet approval has been granted to provide an allowance of 25,000 rupees for the restoration of religious places affected by the disaster.
එම ආගමික ස්ථාන පිරිසිදු කර
The Cabinet approved the proposal submitted by the President as Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to provide an allowance of 25,000 rupees to clean and restore places of religious worship and to allocate the necessary funds to the Ministry of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs.
ජනපත මැදිරිපත් කළ යෝජනාව කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලය අනුමත කළා.
25000 ප්‍රමාණවත්ද ඊට වඩා වැඩි හානියක් වෙලා තිබුණු ආගමික ස්ථානයක් තිබුණොත් ඊට වඩා යමක් කරන්න ආණ්ඩුවට හැකියාවක් තියෙනවද?
මම කිව්වේ එම ආගමික ස්ථාන
I said that 25,000 rupees will be given to clean and restore the religious places. The 25,000 rupees is not for partial damage. For partial damage, up to 2.5 million rupees will be provided. The 25,000 rupees is also not for complete damage. For complete damage, up to 5 million rupees will be given. So far, we have received reports of about 837 religious places that have suffered various types of damage due to the disaster.
විවිධාකාරී ආපදාවට ලක් වෙලා තිබෙනවා.
Uninterrupted local and international support continues for communities devastated by the sudden disaster. Government agencies, state institutions, officials, the Triforces, police, the private sector and countless volunteers across the country are working tirelessly, day and night, with one united goal: to rebuild our nation. This is the rebirth of our country. Railway workers, including members of railway trade unions, rallied together this morning to repair the Walahapitiya-Kudaoya railway line without expecting any reward, purely out of goodwill. A team that boarded a train to Chilao earlier today has already reached Kudaoya and begun repairs. Flood-damaged tracks between Galloya and Trincomalee have now been restored thanks to railway workers and volunteers who completed the work in less than 10 days. In Impagamua, 5 sections of the Periyakadunalava road were destroyed. Today, residents from 17 villages, young and old, came together to rebuild the road. In Uwaparanagama, the Kotagoda Dam and canal was severely damaged. Over 1,500 families from 3 farming organizations depend on this dam. Today, villagers joined by volunteers from the south began repairs. The scale of damage to Maspanna is now clearly visible. Clearing collapsed soil is essential to restore the town. 4 buses buried under mud were recovered today. Road repairs in Uwaparanagama have begun. Everyone is helping state officials to finish the work as quickly as possible. These teams are working day and night to restore roads before more time passes. The destruction caused by the Mavilaru Reservoir breach has severely impacted Trincomalee district. The Dehivattamuthur water pipeline system was also destroyed. With military assistance, the system was restored and reopened today. Despite intermittent rains, large groups are working tirelessly to rebuild the Mahavali Protective Bund in Suryapura. The Kakirava-Galevila road is being restored by the Road Development Authority, Irrigation Department and volunteer teams. The road is now almost fully reopened. In Nochiagama, the Kusumpura road was repaired today by local council representatives, officials and workers, making it accessible again. Severe damage was reported to the ancient bund of the Puranavava in Wilpattu. Restoration work has now begun with everyone working together.
The people of Sri Lanka are working tirelessly to recover from the disaster. Meanwhile, what are the opposition political parties doing during this critical period?
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa is currently engaging with communities affected by the crisis. During his visit to Chilao, he warned that if the IMF does not agree to renegotiate terms, the country could face serious financial difficulties by 2028.
From 2028, I think that we will need to pay between 4 to 4.5 billion US dollars annually in foreign debt. The government must consider whether the country has the capacity to meet this obligation at this time. Without further delay, we need to negotiate with the IMF and enter into a new agreement. If this is not done, the country will face even greater challenges in meeting the 2028 debt repayments.
The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna says a motion of impeachment should be brought against the president.
At this moment, we urge the main opposition in Parliament to take this opportunity and bring an impeachment motion against the President. If such a motion is presented, the people will know the truth. They will understand what actions the President failed to take, what the ministers failed to do, and how, despite having all the necessary information during this critical period, they chose to prepare for various other events instead of acting to save lives. This negligence has led the country to disaster. An impeachment will reveal all these details to the public.
What has happened to the opposition? Here is the view of Minister Bimal Ratnayaka.
I feel sorry for them. We have never seen an opposition fall to such a low and pitiful level. In fact, I think they are more helpless than the people displaced by the landslides. We urge the MPs elected from the opposition to stop getting trapped in Facebook comments and social media chatter. Instead, come down to the ground and help the people. These foolish statements achieve nothing. I even saw someone suggesting to send SMS messages. Let me be clear. None of the key officials in this country have been appointed politically. That's the truth. So, we have no such influence. All our officials are working hard. That's why I have to say the opposition today is more helpless than the people themselves.
The Sirasa Sahana Yatra continues to move forward as a beacon of hope, moving with unprecedented speed to transform donations into immediate relief.
This is a glimpse of Badulla. Yesterday morning, essential relief items flown into Mattala Airport aboard a US Air Force C-130J Super Hercules transport aircraft began distribution in Badulla. Among the hardest hit areas in Spring Valley in Haliela, where families remain vulnerable in the wake of the disaster. In Bogahamalitha Haliala, relief teams worked until midnight yesterday to deliver essential items to 60 families. "14 days of relentless effort, driven by trust and compassion. A vast network of volunteers has stepped forward to join hands in this mission. The MTV MBC head office premises, the Panama Broadcast Centre and Kahaduwatta Centre in Galle continue to operate tirelessly for those in need. Essential supplies entrusted by the public are being transported by air, land and water, reaching the hands of those most affected. This morning, relief convoys departed from MTV MBC head office premises to deliver aid to Nuwara district and Puttlam district. University students are among those severely impacted. The Sirasa Sahanayatra flood relief drive extended its reach to University of Peradeniya, providing daily essentials and equipment to over 160 students. As rains continue and Mavilaru and Mahavili River overflow, affected communities received emergency supplies yesterday evening. Villages such as Nallur, Neenakanni, Veeramanagar and Ilankatte were not forgotten by the Sirasa Sahanayatra flood relief mission. Communities in Soranathotta, Kandigedara and Atampitiya also received aid today under the ongoing mission. From every corner, people line up. The strength of a volunteer generation join hands with the power of the armed forces. Sirasa Sahanayatra flood relief drive. Unstoppable, always for the people.
Mama Sri Lanka Dushabadita Janata Sammilne telephone operator theatre Puno Lavano. මේ මගේ තුන්වෙනි පාර සිටසට මේ බඩු ගෙනල්ලා දුන්න.
Losses, they are universal. Cyclone Ditwa swept in suddenly, teaching us that very lesson. No matter what, this is the time for everyone, those who have and those who don't, to help the helpless in every possible way. That bridge of humanity is what Sirasa Sahanayatra was built for. This is Pasindu Chamara Maduranga from Makola. Pasindu has joined the relief mission for the third time in just a week, bringing aid for those in need.
මේක අපේ රටට බලපාපු ලොකු ව්‍යසනකාරී තත්ත්වයක්. මේක තමයි අපිට ලැබුණු ලොකු අවස්ථාව පින් කරගන්න. උගන්ට දැනෙන බඩගින්නම තමයි නිතරම දැනෙන්නේ. ඉතින් උගන්ට දැනෙන අවස්ථාව තමයි නිතරම දැනෙන්නේ. ඉතින් මේ වෙලාවේ උගල්ලෝ අත්වල බඳ ගන්න කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ මේ වගේ ව්‍යසනයකදී.
Among the thousands visiting Sahanayatra centers, Pasindu stood out. Why? Because he let go of limitations and gave what he could, dedicating himself to others and fulfilling his part. Within the Sirasa Sahanayatra flood relief drive, countless acts of kindness like this are woven together.
As the Sirasa Shakti Sahanayatra Flood Relief Initiative has been providing essential aid to flood-affected communities across the island, day by day, more businesses are joining hands with this initiative, contributing resources and support, helping to expand its reach and impact. With the combined efforts of businesses and authorities, the initiative continues to go stronger, ensuring relief reaches to those who need it the most.
The Ministry of Crab Restaurant, led by its founder Darshan Munidasa, has stepped forward in a significant show of solidarity with flood-affected communities, making a generous contribution to the Sirasa Sahanayatra Flood Relief Initiative. Following the contribution, multiple relief convoys were mobilized to deliver essential aid across the hardest hit regions. Meanwhile, speaking exclusively to the Newsfirst team, founder and owner of the Ministry of Crab Restaurant, Darshan Munidasa, reflected on the motivation behind his contribution.
Darshan, I'd like to ask you what inspired you to be a part of the Sahanayatra initiative?
I think this tragedy is something that we all Sri Lankans have to help each other, and this initiative by you all was something that was credible and that was getting relief at the right time to the right places. So that's why we are here. and we are humbled to be able to help our fellow countrymen in this time of need.
When asked about the ongoing rebuilding efforts, Darshan emphasized the role of collaboration in ensuring that aid reaches those who need it the most.
I think it's not only about what we are doing. I think what we have to celebrate and recognize and acknowledge is the Sri Lankans give to Sri Lankans the most. And we've had natural disasters, politically driven disasters, but the way we come around to help each other, resilience is a word. We fight hard, we get up soon. I think we need to celebrate that also in the face of this catastrophe. I'm proud to call myself a Sri Lankan just by seeing how much everyone's giving to help each other. And that's a unique situation, I think, in the face of all these issues, that we actually come out fast and try to help each other. And that's a unique Sri Lankan trait, and we need to celebrate that also.
The Sirasa Sahanayatra Flood Relief Initiative has already made a significant impact, with relief supplies reaching communities in many affected regions. The success of the distribution efforts has been made possible through the combined support and collaboration of businesses, dedicated volunteers at collection centers, and the coordinated efforts of authorities, both local and international. Together, these partnerships have ensured that aid reaches those who need it the most, turning the initiative into a model of effective collective action in the face of disaster.
The Sirasa Shakti Sahana Yatra. Sri Lanka needs you. Please donate the following dry rations and help those who need it the most: rice, dal, noodles, soya meat, canned fish, and biscuits. You can hand over these items at the following collection points: the MTV head office, Braybrook Place, Colombo 2, the Deparnama Studio Complex in Panipitia. For further inquiries, please call 076 552 5000. Together, we can make a difference.
News First with the people.
The Department of Meteorology has warned of thunder showers accompanied with severe lightning at some places in Kalutara, Ratnapura, Gaul and Matara districts. Temporary localized strong winds during thunder showers are also possible in the northern and north-central provinces, as well as in the Putlam and Trincomalee districts. According to the Met Department, the western and Sabaragama provinces are also expected to experience rainy conditions tonight. The department urges the general public to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by lightning.
Red notices for landslides issued in 4 districts are still in effect. This red notice applies to 20 divisional secretariat divisions in the Kandy district. The red notice for landslides is also in effect for 7 divisional secretariat divisions in Kegol district. 10 divisional secretariat divisions in Matale district are also included in the red notice. Red notices have been issued for 3 divisional secretariat divisions in the Kurunagala district. The 2 sluice gates of Kalavera, which had been opened by 3 feet each yesterday, were further widened by another foot today. The released water flows into Kala Oya, causing flooding near the Aukana Bridge along the Aukana-Kakirava road for the 2nd consecutive day. Travellers using this route have been forced to take a 25-kilometre detour via Bulnava and Andagala to reach Kakirava. Meanwhile, 6 sluice gates of Rajangane Reservoir have been opened, releasing water into the Kala Oya as well. At the Mineria Reservoir, 3 sluice gates were opened today, sending water through Agalavana Oya into Kaudula Reservoir. Irrigation engineer Malinda Jaitilaka has urged the public to exercise caution when using Agalavana Oya. Two sluice gates of Nachadua Reservoir have also been opened by 2 feet each, releasing water into Malbatuoya. Hurulu Reservoir continues to discharge water. Following the disaster, the Horopatana Mahaveva Bund has been cut open as a precautionary measure after water levels reached the sluice gate height. Previously, heavy rainfall caused excessive water flow through Yarnoya, leading to the opening of Horopatana Mahaveva gates and flooding the town.
Newsfirst, main sponsor.
Valuable FD, the symbol of stability. Valuable FD, the symbol of stability.
Welcome back to the news. The 27th Presidential Export Award ceremony was held in Colombo today.
27th Presidential Export Award ceremony organized by the Sri Lanka Export Development Board took place today in Colombo. The Presidential Export Award is the highest recognition awarded by the President to Sri Lankan exporters who have made significant contributions to the export sector and economic development to the country.
This event reminds us that national progress depends not only on governance and policy, but also on productivity, value creation, and competitiveness. It recognizes the resilience and commitment of our exporters who continue to explore new markets and strengthen the economy. Economic progress requires partnership. The government will provide stability, clear policy direction, and a supportive environment. Your role as exporters and industry leaders is equally important. These are challenging times, but I'm confident that all of you present here today are here because you're not unfamiliar with meeting challenges and facing challenges without weakness, and that you are able to lift your game up to meet any challenges that are placed before you.
This year's award ceremony was held to recognize Sri Lanka's best exporters for the financial year of 2024 and 2025.
Sri Lanka has secured a $30 million World Bank loan to power its renewable future.
The government of Sri Lanka has signed a $30 million financing agreement with the International Development Association, or the IDA, of the World Bank Group to implement the Secure, Affordable and Sustainable Energy for Sri Lanka project. The agreement was formalized on the 3rd of December 2025 by Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma, Secretary to the Treasury, and David N. Sislan, Division Director for Maldives, Nepal and Sri Lanka of the World Bank Group. The project aims to address critical technical challenges that have hindered the integration of renewable energy into the national grid. By enhancing grid infrastructure, the initiative aligns with the government's ambitious power sector policy to generate 70% of the electricity from renewable sources by 2030. In addition to the loan, the World Bank Group plans to introduce a payment guarantee facility to attract private sector investment in renewable energy through various lending instruments. This comprehensive approach will help scale up renewable energy adoption, strengthen grid reliability, ensure affordable power supply, and build institutional capacity for long-term sector reforms. The total project cost is $60 million, with the first $30 million provided under this agreement and the remaining amount expected in a second phase. The Ceylon Electricity Board will implement the project in coordination with the Ministry of Energy, with the loan facility on lent to CEB.
President Donald Trump has unveiled a new fast-track visa initiative, the Trump Golden Card, offering wealthy foreign individuals a path to U.S. residency and ultimately citizenship for a minimum payment of $1 million.
In a post on social media, the president described the scheme as a direct path to citizenship for all qualified and vetted people, adding that it would help American companies retain invaluable talent. According to the program's official website, applicants must pay a non-refundable $15,000 processing fee, undergo a background check, and contribute $1 million as evidence they will substantially benefit the United States. Businesses sponsoring employees will be required to pay $2 million along with additional transfer and annual maintenance fees. A higher-tier Trump Platinum card is also expected soon, priced at $5 million, offering holders special tax advantages, including the ability to spend up to 270 days in the US without being taxed on foreign income. The rollout comes amid Washington's intensified immigration crackdown, with increased work visa fees, deportations of undocumented migrants, and a pause on immigration applications from 19 countries affected by the administration's travel ban. The government has also halted decisions on asylum cases and announced a review of thousands approved under the previous administration. The gold card scheme has faced criticism since its first announcement in February, with opponents arguing it unfairly favors the wealthy, but President Trump insists the program will generate significant revenue, saying proceeds will go toward positive things for the country. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem praised the initiative, saying qualified individuals and corporations contributing the required amounts will receive expedited EB1 or EB2 green cards following rigorous vetting.
The United States has seized a Venezuelan oil tanker in what officials describe as a major escalation against President Nicolas Maduro. President Trump confirmed the operation, calling the vessel very large and saying the US would keep the oil. Venezuela, in response, has denounced the move as international piracy.
The United States has seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela, marking a dramatic escalation in President Trump's pressure campaign against Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. Speaking at the White House ahead of an event on a new luxury visa program, President Trump confirmed the operation, calling it a large tanker, very large, and adding that other things are happening. 3 US officials said the tanker was carrying Venezuelan oil and that the crew offered no resistance. Venezuela's government condemned the move as a barefaced robbery and an act of international piracy, accusing Washington of trying to strip the country of its oil wealth. The seizure comes amid an expanding US campaign targeting Venezuela. Since September, the United States has carried out more than 22 known strikes against boats in the region, with the Trump administration claiming without publicly providing evidence that the vessels were smuggling drugs. Legal experts say the operations may violate international law. A video posted by Attorney General Pam Bondi, which could not be independently verified, showed armed US forces rappelling from a helicopter onto the tanker. She said the operation involved the FBI, Homeland Security, the Coast Guard and Pentagon support, alleging the ship transported sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. Officials identified the vessel as the skipper, carrying PDVSA crude, and said it had previously been linked to Iranian oil smuggling. A federal judge issued a sealed seizure warrant roughly 2 weeks ago due to the ship's past activities. The administration has not said what will happen to the vessel or its crew. The White House also did not clarify whether the United States has the legal authority to keep the seized oil. Venezuela relies heavily on oil exports to fund essential imports like food and medicine. Years of mismanagement, corruption and US sanctions have sharply reduced output, while China now buys about 80% of Venezuela's oil. The operation comes as the United States maintains a major military buildup in the region, including more than 15,000 troops and a dozen ships in the Caribbean. President Trump has authorized covert action against Venezuela and warned that US attacks could expand to targets inside the country, even as he has held occasional phone calls with Maduro. Meanwhile, on the same day as the tanker seizure, the Nobel Peace Prize was formally awarded to Venezuela dissident Maria Corina Machado. Her daughter accepted the prize in Oslo, as the committee said she had left Venezuela and was traveling to the ceremony.
Denmark has issued a rare warning with its intelligence agency for the first time naming the United States as a potential security risk, citing rising tensions over Greenland and shifting US priorities.
A major shift in Denmark's security outlook has emerged as the Danish Defense Intelligence Service has for the first time identified the United States as a potential security risk. In its 2025 intelligence assessment released on Wednesday, the agency warns that Washington is increasingly prioritizing its own interests and is now using economic and technological strength as a tool of power, even toward its allies. The report highlights growing geopolitical tensions surrounding Greenland, a territory of the Danish kingdom, following President Donald Trump's repeated suggestions that he would like the US to take control of the Arctic island. Trump has not ruled out using military force to do so, sparking diplomatic strains between Copenhagen and Washington. According to the Danish Defense Intelligence Service, the United States has increasingly relied on economic pressure, including threats of high tariffs, and no longer rules out the use of military force, even against allies. Despite this shift, the agency stresses that Russia and China remain Denmark's primary security risks. It warns that the uncertainty over the US role as Europe's security guarantor could embolden Russia to intensify hybrid attacks against NATO. It also notes that China's economic and the agency identifies the Baltic Sea force against NATO.
And with that, we wrap up Prime Time News for tonight.
Thank you for joining us. Good night.